Hey guys, how's it going? Well, it's been a couple of months since I posted a video. A month and a half, something like that. Or maybe, no, I posted in June, so a month, I don't know. Well, anyway, some of y'all might be wondering where all of the Jeep videos are for my motor swap Jeep build. I got them all 4.5, 5 hours or so on my hard drive, just sitting there. I've just been too lazy to edit it because I don't exactly know how I'm going to edit it. And I didn't record every single thing that I did. After about 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks or so, I kind of just put my head down, and there were just days, hell, there was even a whole week I didn't record anything. I just put my head down and worked because I was on a time crunch. The time was running out. So I got the videos, I just don't know exactly how I'm going to break them up. So I just haven't sat down to do anything. It's going to be a long process. But today's video is actually on the Sonoma. As some of y'all probably know, ever since I got the thing, I wanted to lower it a little bit. And ever since I got the rims, I really wanted to lower it. But it's been about 6 months since then, and finally I'm doing it. I've been rambling, so yeah, but here's the spindles, shocks, U-bolts, and then all the bushings. Let me go ahead and take the front end apart, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, looks a little bit different. You got it jacked up, got the control arm supported with the jack stand. It's been honestly a couple hours since I started this. I started it, got to here, and then one of my buddies stopped by and talked to him for a good hour or so. I haven't seen him in a while. And then I went back into town because I forgot brake cleaner, clean out a brake cleaner. So I had to go get some brake cleaner so I can clean up the washer, the nut, and stuff like that. Yeah, basically, pull the wheel off, pull the brake caliper off, you might not have to, but I loosened up my sway bar link because I'm going to replace them. These actually don't look bad. I do have something that sounds like it's clunking in the front end. Who knows, it could be these shocks. But I'm going to go ahead and replace my sway bar links. After you pull the brake caliper off, take the nuts and castle nuts and stuff off the spindle, pull the rotor off. Once you pull the rotor off, you're going to have to get your ABS module off and be careful with it, especially if your ABS is working fine. If your ABS is working, be careful with that. There's clips back here where the lines are, right there and right there. You need to take those off, or you won't be able to pull it off the spindle. If you don't take those off, you're not going to be able to get it off the spindle. So you got to pull those off, and then once you pull that off, it's just got a bolt here, and a bolt here. This nut and a bolt right here, stay on it. You don't need to take that off. And then take your ball joint castle nuts off. Make sure to put a jack on your control arm, or you're probably going to be stuck here for a couple hours trying to get that stupid, well, you got a shock in it right now, so you'll probably be saved. But it could pull the shock out. If the shock's worn out, it could just pull the rod right out the shock. And if it does that, well, you're probably going to be here for a good couple of hours trying to get that spring back in. If you've never done it before, good luck. So now all I got to do is here is a lowering spindle. Yeah, from down here to up here, and from down here to up here. This is right? Yeah, this was the right spindle. So yeah, that is actually 2 inches. That's a hell of a lot. From there to there, and then from there, you know, from here to here, and from here to here. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get this on. It's not a comprehensive video. If it was, I would have been recording the whole time. But yeah. All right, it's quite a bit later than it was. Well, I say quite a bit later. No, it is whatever. This side's done, other than the new sway bar link. I've got to do both sides at the same time. But rotors on, you know, pack the bearings, put the grease, put the seal on the back of it, put the nut on, and then as you're spinning it, torque it down to 20 foot-pounds. You know, spin it while you're putting pressure on the torque wrench. You know, not just cranking on it, but put pressure on it, so as you're spinning it, it slowly tightens up. And then back off a quarter turn, and then tighten it by hand as you're spinning it until a cotter pin hole lines up. It should be pretty darn close. I had to tighten mine just a little bit to get the cotter pin to go through. I still did it by hand, but I took the socket, put the socket on, and used my whole hand besides just my fingers. Got the new brakes on. I got that's all to say with that. There's this side. It's definitely lower because the rotor used to be. I can show you the other side. The rotor and the heat shield, or the dust shield, are above the control arm, which might cause issues with the ABS line, whatever. But here's this side. Dust shield's well below the control arm. So yeah, man, it's been a long day. It's I should have been done by now. Stupid wrong parts and other stuff happening. Alright, well, it's the next day. I didn't get done till way late last night. After I had to tap one of the ball joint threads because the nut didn't want to thread on, and it was causing the whole shaft of the ball joint to spin, and I couldn't get it tight enough to spin it. So just took a 1/2 inch 20 tap, tapped about the width of the thickness of the tap. I think I went up into where the cotter pin was, and then I threaded the bolt on and used the impact that went up and down with the bolt a couple times. Slid right on fine. I think it was mostly rust, because I don't think those knuckles have ever been off. There's no reason to remove a knuckle, because the ball joint's factory. The upper ball joint's still riveted in. I'm pretty sure the lower ball joint's still factory. So I'm thinking it's just, you know, rust. It's, you know, 18 years old. Sits a lot of the time, obviously, because it's only got 80-something thousand miles on it. 87,000 some odd miles on it. But yeah, I got the front done, and then I stopped. Not only did I have to do that, I had to go into town and get one of the bearings, the inner bearing. I got given the wrong bearing, so I had to go into town and swap that out. And then I just crashed. I'd been up since 5:30 that morning. It was midnight, and I was moving in slow motion. So anyway, here's the next day. I'm doing the back. Practically have everything ready. I removed the shocks, and yeah, these shocks are shot. You can tell they've been leaking. So those are shot. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I jacked it up, took shocks off. Now all I have to do is take the U-bolts out, and either pick up the axle or use the jack, then jack up the axle, put the block in, put the new U-bolts in, tighten the U-bolts up, then torque them down. I think 90 is the rule of thumb, 90 foot-pounds. I'm going to go ahead and look that up, but I know on my Jeep, it's you torque it to 90 foot-pounds, you drive it 500 miles, you come back, you retorque them, and then it's good to go another 500 miles, retorque them. And then, like any suspension component, you're supposed to about every, I don't know, probably about every oil change, 2,500 miles, 5,000 miles, something like that. You're supposed to go through and torque all your suspension lift components, lower components, whatever. Nobody does it because usually once you get done with the 500 and 1,000 mile retorque, it's usually fine. Unless you have a huge lift that are known to, those are known to loosen up over time. But I'm just going to go ahead and take the nuts off the bottom of the both sides, pull the U-bolts out, get the new U-bolts, lift the axle up, put the block in, put shocks in. It shouldn't take long, famous last words. I'll be back. And there we go, it's all done. Shocks are in. Blocks in, new U-bolts are in, everything's U-bolts. The torques that I found were between 80 and 85, so I went ahead and did 85. Torque them all down to 85. Come back after 500 miles, torque them down again. It's a good idea to do it again at 1,000 miles. Every oil change is probably the best, especially if you have blocks. Blocks are known to come loose, so blocks are definitely something you do. It is a good idea to keep an eye on, otherwise you'll lose a block. It's not as bad with these steel blocks, but aluminum blocks gets loose, they crack and snap and break. Yeah, and that actually didn't take long at all. It only took probably about an hour and a half or so. I could have done it quicker. I'm still wore out from work this week and being out here till 2 o'clock in the morning last night, or this morning. I'm just wore out. Yeah, everything's in, everything's tight. I did notice the shocks are about ½ inch to an inch too short on full drop. The only issue that will cause is when put it on a lift at work, change oil and stuff. And there's a possibility it's going to it's going to ruin the shocks. So I guess a minus on that part. But other than it being that slightly bit short, everything's good. Everything's fine. Two of the U-bolts were a little bit too big. I mean, that's going to happen. It was actually one on each side. That came in a pack of 2 U-bolts and all the bolts, and there were 2 separate packages. And then the shocks came by themselves, and then all the little hardware, the little sleeves and the bar pins and the kits for the front for the towers, all those came separate. So these are just some universal shocks, and then you just add what eyelets you need on them. We'll see how they last. I'm pretty sure they're not gas charged. I looked the numbers up on them. They're probably just standard hydraulic hydro shocks. I eventually want to get some Bilsteins. I might put the because I still plan on. I don't know how much I plan on hauling with this. The biggest thing I'd probably put in the back is a 4-wheeler, but I think Bilstein does coilover shocks, maybe. I might think about getting some coilover shocks for the back when I upgrade shocks. That's just something I'm thinking about. But all that's done. Now all I gotta do is put it down on the ground. When I put the front on, the front does still rub. So I might, even though I hate it, I might look into getting some 1/4-inch spacers. But I do have a sharper turn now. It did move the wheel out. It moved the wheel out enough that I can practically get the full lock before it hits. Before, I was hitting before full lock, Either that, or I'll just take the tab for the lock, for the wheel lock, and I'll just, I don't know, get some 1/4-inch steel or something, put a couple of stitch welds on it, and space the wheel lock out. That way I don't have to run wheel spacers, because I really don't want to run a spacer. Even if it's just a 1/4-inch spacer, and it's a custom spacer, which is what I'd get. It'd be hub mount to hub mount, meaning the hub of the wheel to the hub of the tire, or to the inside of the tire would be perfect. There's no slop in it. But I don't like wheel spacers no matter what. So yeah, let me drop it on the ground. Let's see what it looks like. There it is, 2 inches all the way around, front and rear. As you can see, it still has a slight rake. The back is still a little bit higher. That's how I wanted it. There are other kits out there. Rough Country's was 2.5. That was it. That was all you get. That was all their options. But was a ton of 2.3s. 2, 2.5, and 2 and 3 would have made it even. Would have made the whole thing flat. I didn't want that though. I like the very slight rake in the back. My Yukon, I think, is like that now. It used to have a slight dip in the back because I couldn't lift the back any higher because my drive shaft was too short. And I'm actually starting to have problems because of that now. Even though I lowered the front down on my Yukon, and so the back is slightly higher now, or it might actually be even. Excuse me, but I'm starting to have problems with I'm having the bushing, tail shaft bushing, slide out and push the rear seal out of the back of the transmission, and that's not good. I've had that happen twice now. Anyway, went off on a tangent. That's the way it looks. Like I said, it's if I had to guess, I'd say it's half an inch. It's probably an inch higher in the back, which is fine. That's the way I want it. Still got plenty of ground clearance. I didn't want to drop the thing. I don't want to drop it because I still want it to be drivable. I think I can. Whoa! I think I can. I think I can still get the Extreme kit on this. I think the Extreme lowering kit factory is only like 1.5 inches. So this is a whole half an inch more. With a lot of the roads, with a lot of the drive-ins for stores and stuff that I go in, that would be problematic. Because that lip would just drag the ground and rip off. That's something I'll think about. I still want to put the kit on there, but if I'm going to be ripping it off, going in drives and stuff, that's I don't want to do that. We'll see. I'll drive it like this. But yeah, I like it. It's honestly not that hard to install. It just, if you don't run into any problems, you should be able to do it in an afternoon. If you run into problems like me, or you're worn out from work all week, and then you come home, start working on it, and all of a sudden all your energy's gone, it's going to take longer. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And I'll talk to y'all later.